everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator in the world. We run it from Silicon Valley, but with a global footprint. And our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. In support of that mission, we do these free weekly mentoring sessions every week. 347th session today. It's been going on since the fall of 2008 when we started tinkering with this format. And obviously, that tinkering was a successful tinkering, and the whole 1 million by 1 million program was born out of that, seminal experiment a long time ago. So the event is being recorded. You will have the recordings available. This recording, as well as all prior recordings, are available on our YouTube channel as well as on the blog. If you're live tweeting the show today, if you could please use hashtag 1M1M, that would be great. Our Twitter channel is very active, both through the @1M1M handle and as well as the @Romana handle. We publish a lot of very rich, inspirational, educational, informational material on entrepreneurship, technology entrepreneurship. And the 1M1M Roundtables channel is the video channel on YouTube. So there you would find a ton of really high quality video content that you can also use as learning material. These are the call-in instructions. We're not quite ready for call-in yet, but do make a note. This is a roundtable. So we want all of you to participate as much as possible. You can use the public chat. Make sure you set your chat to send to all participants, and that's a great place to introduce yourself, tell us what you do, where you're dialing from, what you're working on, as well as engage with the conversation in the during the session. Both we're going to start with Allan Wille, but we're also going to do some entrepreneur mentoring, as well as today we're going to do some video. We're going to watch a few videos and discuss points based on those little video tutorials, case studies. So that's the agenda. We're going to start with Allan. Allan, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Romana. Great to chat again.
Yes. So let's start by having you tell us about Klipfolio and what do you do? What is the business?
Sure. So I'll give you a very brief intro into Klipfolio. So we're a cloud-based real-time dashboard vendor. We're very fortunate in that we have probably about 8,000 customers globally who are now monitoring their business in real time. So these are mostly small and mid-sized companies, and really for every department, every team, and every company, it is so important to understand what's working in the company and what is not working in the company. So we're big believers of being able to monitor your performance and then making decisions accordingly. So we're very fortunate in that we have close to almost over 8,000 customers today that are doing exactly that. So the company's been around for a long time, and I am the founder and the current CEO.
So you started a while ago. When and how did you start? What was the, what spurred you to start this company?
Sure. So we started with a passion around being able to better monitor frequently changing data. And the way that started was actually not in the business sphere, but it was in the consumer space. So the idea was there has to be a better way to monitor news or weather or your stocks or your sports scores. So the company actually started as a consumer dashboard that will allow you to monitor all these various things on a little dashboard and do so in real time. So you didn't have to go to every single website and look at these various tidbits of information. So that
what year was that?
Genesis. Go ahead.
What year was that?
That was 2001. So that was a long time ago. And I think we launched the application. Yeah, we launched the application in 2002. And keep in mind, this is now, it's not cloud. This is a Windows downloadable piece of software. So it's very different than what it is today.
So your first enterprise deal came in 2004, which was 3 years after you started with the consumer concept, and it was a real stroke of luck. So tell us what happened and what gave you the clue into the fact that it could be that the real meat of the business is in the enterprise.
So when we were working with all of these consumers, we actually saw wild success. So we had upwards of 1,000 downloads of our dashboard on a daily basis. And again, this is to consumers. But we really struggled in trying to make a business model, a profitable business model work. The idea was that the publishers of this data were going to be our customers, and that the consumers were sort of the demand of the marketplace. But that didn't really work. Nonetheless, we had upwards of 300,000 users of our dashboard, and of course, many of those users worked at companies. So it was in 2004 that a large international airline came to us and they said, hey, we love your personal dashboard, but could we actually push business metrics through this as opposed to sports scores and soccer scores in the news? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was a real moment in the history of the company. And all of a sudden, we went from monitoring personal data to being able to monitor metrics that meant the best decisions. We had to monitor these metrics for a business context. So overnight, the company shifted from a consumer tool to a business tool. And all of a sudden, we found that it wasn't just this airline, but we started selling into other enterprise companies. So there was a real need for a real-time dashboard that would better tell folks how they were performing from a business point of view on a daily basis.
And there was nothing like that in the market at the time, which explains why they came to you and asked you to customize this for them?
Correct. So for anybody that knows the business intelligence space, you'll know that it's very crowded. And even back then in 2004, there was lots of...
It's still very crowded.
Say again?
It was still very crowded.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
It was still very crowded.
It was, and it is still crowded. But there was MicroStrategy, there was Cognos, there was SAP with Business Object. So all of our customers have these tools, but these tools didn't lend themselves for real-time visibility of what was happening. And so that was our real niche, and we were consistent in the way we applied that to the consumer space. And then we were also consistent in the way we applied that to the business space. So this idea of real-time monitoring was something that was of huge value, and nobody was doing yet.
So did this enterprise model replicate itself? How did you manage to go from that one customer telling you that this is what they want, and then you obviously had to make quite a bit of modification on the product? And then how did you pivot, so to speak, to the enterprise business?
So the pivot itself wasn't very difficult. I mean, you'll know this as well. But if you're making next to no money and all of a sudden there's a customer that is willing to pay you, you pivot pretty quickly. I think the struggle then came in that we had to scale this new business. So now that we had an enterprise customer, we really had to figure out how do we get from one customer to 10 customers to 100 customers. And we did that, although it really took a lot of time. So we were selling into IT, we were selling through procurement, and as you mentioned, every customer, because these were relatively large deals, they were sort of between $25K and $200K per customer. A lot of them had a lot of customization of the code. And that's one of the dangers. If you have few customers and the customers are paying you a relatively sizable check, there's the danger that you start customizing the software and you start branching it. And before you know it, you're almost more of a professional services shop than a product company. And although I don't think we went that far, there was always a danger that we were being less than efficient because the software was often being customized for each of these companies. It was a long sales cycle as well, so we did manage to scale. We did manage to get to profitability. We did manage to grow the team. So I think we grew from, in the very early days, we grew from 4 or 5 people to maybe 15 people. And we had about 150 customers at the height of it. But the business was still, it wasn't taking off the way we wanted it to. So this was still a...
So hold on, Allan, I have one question before you move on from this stage to the next.
Sure.
In this time frame, in the, let's say, 2001 to maybe 2005 time frame, you essentially pivoted from B2C to B2B, and it took you a good 3 to 5 years to find product market fit. How did you sustain during those years, both financially and emotionally? Obviously, once the enterprise customers kicked in gear, the cash was coming from them, and you, as you said, that was a very easy decision to pivot because they were the paying customers. But leading up to that, how did you sustain? Were you self-financing? Was it friends and family money? How did you get that far?
Sure, it's an important thing to chat about. So we did do a very, very small friends and family round when we first started the company. So this was in 2001, 2002. But really that funding had been exhausted by the time we pivoted into the enterprise. So we were selling. That was probably the best source of funding, and it's always the best source of funding. We obviously took very, very small salaries, and in many cases, in many months, myself and there was 2 other founders, we didn't take salary. So I think there's a lot of, and those were the right decisions, you know, to sort of go in and out of salary while you're trying to figure this out. You obviously don't have a fundable business yet, and if you don't have a fundable business, then you can't expect to go out and raise financing. You can't expect to get a lot of capital in, so you need to make sacrifices yourself. So we took very small salaries, and they were intermittent at best. The other thing that we did is we went out and we worked with local business development agencies, so government agencies, funding agencies, where they fund research and development, they fund commercialization of products. So this was a very meaningful amount of debt or grant funding that we were able to get. And it's non-equity based, but that certainly allowed us to move forward, you know, as we tried to figure out what the product market fit was. And then with every year, you know, we continually saw ourselves getting more and more customers. The other thing that was important was that even in 2004, for better or for worse, and this is not brilliance on our part, we chose an annual recurring revenue model. So as our base grew, of course, so did our recurring revenues. So that was something that was very valuable, and it really helped with cash flows and the sustainability of the business.
So the enterprise pivot got you to about, you said about 150 customers, but it still was not growing at the pace that you said you wanted to. What kind of revenue level did you get to with these 150 customers, and in what time frame?
Well, I mean, so we got to about $1 million in revenue. You know, sometimes just shy of it, sometimes more, but it really wasn't accelerating as we had wanted it to. And it's frustrating because it took us a long time. It took us basically 6 years where we realized that this business is not going to move in the speed and with the velocity as we had expected it to. And what's frustrating is that while the business is growing and while your customers are saying that they love your product, there's not quite enough of them to say this is a breakout success, but there's not quite too few of them to tell you that this is not worth it. So you're really in this middle ground of a product and a business model that has mediocre success. And I think those are among the most difficult things that any entrepreneur, has to deal with is mediocre success. Do you continue investing, or do you say that we need to pivot and move on to something else?
Right. So you arrived at a second pivot juncture, it sounds like. What was that second pivot?
So the second pivot was largely, so the easy thing to say, the second pivot was around the cloud, moving to the cloud. But that actually wouldn't be telling the whole story. So the real second pivot was more about the business model and the target audience. So I'll tell you how that happened. So we had a very large insurance company as one of our desktop clients, and they loved our product. They used it, every single day to monitor real-time business metrics. But in 2010, this is when the iPad came out, they approached us and they said, all of our executives are running around with their new iPads. So they had a request. Can you make it work on mobile devices? And can you put it into the cloud? So that was their product request. But then they had two other requests as well. So, and those are more important. They said, can you make sure that we don't have to work with IT as much anymore? So the business, we want to manage our own dashboards. We want to build our own dashboards and visualizations. Can you make sure that we don't have to be as reliant on IT? So in other words, make the product more self-serve and easier to use. And the second thing they asked, and I had to laugh about it, and they said, can you make it less expensive? Or can you make it cheap? And I did think it was a funny thing. A customer, obviously they're always going to ask to make it less expensive. But the brilliance of their question was, can you make it so that we don't have to work with IT and with procurement and legal? So again, this entire idea was we want autonomy. We want to build our own dashboards, and we want to acquire and pay for our own dashboards. We want to just be nimble and agile as much as possible. So really the pivot had more to do with the business model than with moving into the cloud. So we did all of those things, of course. We moved into the cloud. We made a mobile application, but we changed the business model significantly. We went from selling deals that were $25K and up to a licensing model that started at $20 a month or $24 a month. So very inexpensive as a first starting point. And when we launched this new product in the cloud with this new business model, we found that the self-serve buying process of this credit card type transaction got us 350 customers in the first year. And I only spoke to maybe 50% of them. So I was the sole salesperson at that time. So we had something that all of a sudden felt like it had some product market fit. And in the next year, we grew to 11.
How were people finding, how were these 350 people finding you, customers finding you?
Yeah, so we had, ever since our beginning, we have invested very heavily in search engine optimization and in content marketing. So we definitely had a huge asset that we were now able to leverage to go out and get leads. So if you search for sales dashboards or marketing dashboards or KPI examples, we usually show up as number one or at least in the top 3. So we had a tremendous amount of inbound search activity. And of course, with this price point and being in the cloud, we had all of a sudden opened up the market, not just to the enterprise, but we had opened it up to this SMB, the small and mid-sized business market. So we had, we had grown our market tremendously. All of a sudden, it was a global market of close to 50 million companies. So that, along with the fact that it was easier to use, easier to buy, and the price point, was really the next pivot. That was the next big thing that changed the trajectory of the business.
And what year was that?
That was, so they approached us in 2010, and then in 2012, we launched our cloud dashboard, the product that we currently have. And it was really 2012 that was this new generation of the company and a new generation of the product. But at its core, it's still a real-time dashboard. It is still true to our original vision that real-time and frequently changing information should be surfaced to an end user.
So it's 11 years after you started that you hit a high-velocity product-market fit.
Yes, I know, which is in some regards absolutely crazy. But on the other hand, I actually think
it's not uncommon.
Exactly, and I think there's this misconception that companies get born and hit this stride right away, and that's not the case.
It's very rarely the case.
Yeah, even if you look at some of the most successful companies like New Relic or Atlassian or Shopify here in town, they have a long stretch where there's basically almost no growth. They're really trying to figure out the market and the target audience and the fit. Yeah. So I don't think ours is uncommon. It did feel like a long time, but I don't think it's uncommon.
And how many customers do you have now?
So we've just crossed, earlier this week, we just crossed 8,000 customers. So again, these are mostly small and mid-sized companies, but we also have departments within some of the larger organizations. And again, these are folks that know that they need to monitor their business better in real time, and to date, they simply have struggled with that. So the company has grown very quickly over the past 4 years.
And what did you do in 2016 revenue-wise?
We did, so ARR was close to 6 million.
6 million. So by the time you found your product market fit, though, there were other players in the market like Tableau, in the visualization space. What did you experience from the competitive challenge point of view?
So from a market point of view, we actually didn't face a tremendous amount of competitive challenge. So what we're finding is that, and I think this is very true for the small and mid-sized business market, is that oftentimes customers won't engage in a very thorough competitive analysis. SMBs don't generally do RFPs. What we're finding is that the buying behavior is really that they find a vendor, and whatever that first vendor is, they will start a trial, and then if they like what they see, they will continue. So we find that the competitive pressures within SMB are less than in an enterprise buying scenario. I'll tell you though where we did see competitive pressure, and that was when we were doing our funding. So really the fact that we play within the business intelligence space, and that is a very crowded space, probably 100 different competitors, 100 different vendors. I think that's where we saw the most fears and the most confusion about how the market is segmented.
So let's talk about funding. After 12 years of bootstrapping, you raised a couple of rounds of funding. Tell us more about the rounds and your accelerated growth in customer metrics. How, at what point did you raise the first round of funding, with what metrics, from whom, and how did you decide whom to raise from and how to raise? And similarly, what were the metrics of Series B, from whom, how much, etc.?
Sure, absolutely. So to sort of circle back, in our first year, we had 350 customers. After launching them, we had 1,100 customers. And that's at the point where we said to ourselves, we think we have something here that is scaling. And there's a feeling that you get when you have product market fit. And this is a feeling that we never had before. In all of our 10 years, we never felt that real incredible pull. So we were feeling this in 2013, 2014. We were starting to feel this pull. So at the beginning of 2014, we raised a seed round, and really that came together because we brought together a small group of folks, one person notably, and we said, hey, listen, this is what's happening in the business. We think we may have something that is fundable. So should we continue growing through operations at what we think might be a 2x multiple for 2014, or should we accelerate and see if we can get a higher multiple, like a 3x growth multiple, and go out and raise a seed round? So in hindsight, the decision was to go out and raise a seed round. We did that. We had actually amazing interest right from the start. We had a great lead here in town, the Business Development Bank of Canada. They led, and then we put together a number of other players as well that participated. Probably the most important player in that whole mix was somebody by the name of Rob Ash. Rob is the past CEO of Cognos, and he's now, and Cognos is based in Ottawa, so we're very fortunate to have that talent pool here, and Rob as well. But Rob saw right through the competitive market, through the competitive landscape, and said, listen, if you can build a company, a business intelligence company, that is targeting the small and mid-sized market, that's the market where there's tremendous amount of opportunity, and right now it's completely barren. There are no competitors, no vendors that are targeting that space. So our seed round investors liked the growth, the early growth that we were seeing, and then Rob was instrumental in helping allay those fears about a competitive space. So that was really how that round came together. And I think the first significant metric that we were looking at was really our growth, our early growth, so early evidence that this was a market that was raising their hand and had a real need. So that was in 2014. We raised that, or we announced our seed round, and it was a $1.6 million seed round that we raised in January of 2014. We put that money to use, and we actually did, in fact, grow the business with a 3x multiple on the previous year, which was very, very positive, because what we did then is we went out to market again, and at the beginning of 2015, again, January, February of 2015, we raised our A round. Now, the A round, again, we had all the right metrics. We had positive dollar retention. So our customers were buying more than the folks that were churning or downgrading. We had, good logo churn numbers. We had phenomenal MRR growth, 3x on an annual basis. So we had all the right metrics to really have a strong fundraise. But again, we found that the investors were struggling with two things. One was the fact that the market was very crowded. So again, we had to really educate them on the ability to stratify and break this into the enterprise and then the small and mid-sized business market. But even after we sort of did that, there was a whole swath of investors and VCs that were scared about going after small and mid-sized business. So the legacy, I think that the bulk of investors out there have traditionally, funded companies that are in the enterprise space. And consumer and SMB is often something that's left to some niche players, and very successful niche players, but it's not the norm. So we had a number of discussions around that as well, making sure that folks were comfortable with SMB.
And you did everything from Ottawa, Canada. What was that experience like, and how would you, characterize entrepreneurship, especially the latter part of your entrepreneurship journey, where you were raising money and so forth, doing that from Ottawa? What would you call as the pros and cons?
So it's a good question, because in our early years, Ottawa has always had a tech culture. I mean, it's a government town as well, being the capital of Canada, but it's always had a strong tech culture as well. So lots of good universities. However, it really has only been in the past couple of years that we've seen this resurgence again of Ottawa as being a hub. I think Shopify has helped with that, Kinaxis, Halogen here in town, the recent investment of Google and Apple and QNX into town as well. So there's a real thriving ecosystem in Ottawa. I think it's probably one of the best in the country. And certainly from a loyalty point of view, from an access to capital point of view, we haven't seen any issues. But the story has two sides, and I think it's human nature, because in our early years, before we had any funding, we often found it was difficult to get an audience. And it is human nature. Folks want to associate themselves with companies that are taking off, with people that are successful, and dissociate themselves with the opposite. So, you know, and it's hard, because as an entrepreneur who's trying to find market fit, you don't have the evidence or the proof yet. You'll often exist within this vacuum of you don't get any media attention, you know, you don't get any funding attention. So it's very, very difficult, and you need to get that breakthrough and that evidence, and then all of a sudden you're the darling of the town. So it can change very, very quickly. So I mean, it's always something that, again, I think entrepreneurs have these dreams of being sort of the center and you know, being able to attract media attention and investment, and there's a lot of hard work and investment and evidence that is required before any of that happens.
So the mantra of the 1M1M program is bootstrap first, raise money later, and a corollary of that is VCs like to come to the rescue of victory. And the same is true for the media, by the way. We kind of do a lot of work in the, you know, grassroots level of really working with entrepreneurs who are bootstrapping and who are in the early stages and so forth. But the bulk of the media and the bulk of the investment community want things that are fleshed out, that have achieved product market fit, and in the case of the media, that actually have funding. The favorite types of stories that the media likes to cover are funding stories. So it's kind of unfortunate, because over 99% of the entrepreneurs out there never get funding. Actually, they're constantly getting rejected by investors, and part of the reason is because they haven't reached that high velocity product market fit that is required for venture capital funding, and there's tremendous lack of understanding of these factors in the ecosystem, and we've been probably the company that has consistently tried to, you know, debunk these stupid myths that are floating around in the industry, that entrepreneurship equals financing. Our philosophy is entrepreneurship equals revenues, customers' revenues and profits, essentially.
Yeah, the best way to get funding is to sell to somebody something that proves to be valuable. That is hands down the best. And I'm always thrilled to find companies where they have bootstrapped and really raised almost no capital. Maybe they have bootstrapped it with some debt, or maybe they've bootstrapped it with a small friends and family round. But you know, you can grow a company very successfully without taking any equity-based financing. So the two, it's not exclusive to one another. I think that's important to understand as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, Allan, thank you very much for sharing your wonderful story. And what I like about your story is also that it's a story of persistence. You know, it took you a long time to hit your stride, hit kind of this high velocity product market fit. And the message to all of those who are listening to this session is that it is important to keep working at it and keep chipping away at how to essentially chisel your eventual, masterpiece. And that requires a lot of time, patience, resilience, creativity. You have to constantly look for opportunities for whether it's pivot or whether it's slight course correction or, new experiments. And that's just the reality of how businesses get built. All right, folks, we're going to switch gears to the entrepreneur pitch session. And Allan, I believe you're staying for a bit, yes?
Yeah, I would love to stick around if that's okay, if I can add.
Perfect. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let me set some expectations before we dive into the conversations about your pitches. Remember, this is a very safe working session. We are here to help you advance in your journey. We want you to succeed, and we are completely on your side. We have no other agenda whatsoever. So completely safe place, feel comfortable, feel safe, don't feel defensive. You may disagree with what we have to say. That is fine. It is your venture. It is your project. You will do exactly what you please. Our effort is to give you feedback based on our experiences. And then what you do with it is up to you. There's one thing that I will say, which you have to take into account, especially based in the context of the story that you just heard. Not all businesses can raise money. Not all businesses should raise money. And raising money doesn't guarantee success. These are facts. They're not negotiable. So please understand the nuances of that. Right now, I'm telling you these things, and if you haven't really studied entrepreneurship, these words sound like counterintuitive to you. But please trust me, that is not the case. These are the realities of the business, and you have to understand the whys and the nuts and bolts of financing before deciding whether you should be raising money for your venture or not. The other thing is, this session is a roundtable. It is not a broadcast. So if you're not pitching, please participate by asking questions in the chat. And asking good questions, engaging with the program is how you're going to learn the most. So please, keep that in mind and participate. We're going to start today's session with Sanjay Patni, who is actually a premium member of the program. And in fact, he's a member of the Oracle 1M1M Entrepreneurship Challenge that we run. We've been running this for, I think, about 4 years in partnership with Oracle. And today's session, I believe, has a lot of Oracle intrapreneurs in the call. Some of them are premium members, but most of you who are here, I believe, are considering applying for the new session of the challenge that is for which the applications are due at the end of this month. And I know this from the registrations because there was some huge publicity inside of Oracle about today's session and about the 1M1M Oracle Challenge in general. So I know you are here to get a feel for this program. So welcome, and please ask questions. If you have questions about the program, I'll be happy to answer those questions as well. So Sanjay, please go ahead and go through your slides, and we will, it's actually great that you're here because your colleagues and peers at Oracle will get a sense of something that is happening inside the program. That is what, if they win a scholarship from Oracle, this is the program that they're going to be part of. Sanjay, go ahead.
Thanks, Almana. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to be talking about a concept which I have been working for about 8 or 9 months. It's on Agile software development, continuous integration and delivery platform. And next slide, please. Yeah, in terms of the agenda for this session, basically, I'm going to be talking about the elevator pitch, what this concept is, and then briefly about me, pain points and the value proposition, how each customers are segmented, and the use cases and the validation which we did basically for this entire concept. And it is still being going on, and then business model, pricing and TAM, the competition which we see, and justification for the asset for the management, and what is going to be the go-to-market strategy, and what is the proposed underlying technology and product description, and then some aspects about the financial profit and loss projections, and next step, how do we move forward from here. Next slide.
So Sanjay, just give me one moment to explain this to your peer group at Oracle who are here. So folks, Sanjay mentioned that he's been working on this for about 8-9 months, and you know, when he started, the first thing he did is to study the 1M1M curriculum, which is a very extensive online curriculum, and you're going to be given a timeline which includes that in the first 3 months of being in the program, we want you to study the curriculum in depth. And then Sanjay started thinking about an idea. He started getting that idea validated. There's a lot of conversations you need to have. You kind of have to immerse yourselves in the customers that you want to, in your target customer base that you want to go for, and constantly collect material, collect points with which you can validate or invalidate. In some cases, not all ideas validate. So that is the process that Sanjay has been going through for the last, 8-9 months of both studying the curriculum, learning methodology, as well as using his idea and holding it up against the methodology, doing the validation, figuring out how to size the market, and all of these, we have lots of curriculum around. So you're going to be working in tandem. You're going to be studying and learning methodology, and you're going to be validating your idea and fleshing out your idea, developing your business case. Now, for all the others who are non-Oracle people in the room, you're going through kind of the same process. You're basically using the curriculum to learn. If you're in the premium program, you're using the curriculum to learn, and you're then holding it up against your idea and your project and navigating through, the ins and outs of your market and figuring out how to move forward and how to accelerate your journey. That is the methodology of 1 million by 1 million. So back to you, Sanjay. Go ahead with your pitch.
Yeah. So in terms of the elevator pitch, basically, when I started the concept, I came out with the concept, but there has to be something which can appeal to the people when we talk about it, and came out with this elevator pitch. It's a predictive, integrated, and cost-effective platform for agile software product evaluation. And like any software product which you do, it gets evolved over a period of time. Like earlier, there were approaches like waterfall in that it was evolving through that process. There was a rational unified approach in that also, but cycles were long. But with the agile, means like it has become shortened, means like 3-4 week cycle, and it's pretty iterative. And we need a platform for evaluation of the product which are being developed using agile methodology with a shorter life cycle of the product. A product feature rollout, basically. Yeah. Next slide. So I'm working as principal application engineer at Oracle, and it's about 5 years. And I'm very result-oriented and technology-oriented person. And through 1 million via 1 million, I am learning the business aspect of building a product and all that. It has been excellent learning in last 1 year through this program about that. Next slide. When I looked into the concept in the beginning, basically, and interviewed people at Oracle, those who were using Fusion apps, found that there are a lot of pain points, basically, in terms of providing a feature. I mean, like from the management, top-level management, there is a requirement for rolling out a feature in the product, and then there is immediate need for a ETA, like when it can be delivered, but there is no visibility to provide that because there are no automated integration tests available. There is no single workbench for continuous development, build and test and deploy. Also, there is no dashboard where basically all the features are basically getting built, and there is no reporting what is happening in the entire process. And also there is sort of user stories gap between the requirements for the agile and approval process. So there are a lot of gaps basically in the entire process, and everything is done pretty much ad hoc, means like through emails, and the process has to be defined, but it is not being basically streamlined. So next slide, please. And once we basically, so there is about 30% cost and revenue saving for the Fusion apps development internally at Oracle, as well as once it is for the customization, which internally at Oracle application lab does, and external customer, they are going to be using it for Fusion app customization from cloud. So initially this solution can solve problem of the Oracle Fusion apps development team, then people those who are internally implementing at Oracle to run Oracle on Oracle, and then external customers are going to be benefited later as they getting more mature with the Fusion app which is made available in the cloud. And there is also there is no planning, like I mentioned about the user stories, like there is no planning, and feature comes in and then directly gets into a sprint, and then sprints get delayed and all that. So the user stories has to be reviewed and approval process for that, and there is a requirement for a kind of a workbench so that basically it can be managed through a self-service UI, and we will talk about that in the value proposition. Next slide, please. So,
Sanjay, you have a couple of actually good questions. I'm monitoring the questions, by the way, folks, so please keep your questions coming, and we'll take them as we go along. Bobby Hoflish asks, aren't there tools from HP and others that have this ability? So, Bobby, I will answer that question for Sanjay just in the interest of time. He's doing this for Oracle Fusion development and integration only. This is not a generic Agile software development tool. This tool is specifically focused for the Oracle platform development. Now, your second question is actually a more interesting question. How did you come up with your 30% in savings? Sanjay, you should take that question. You have on this pain point slide, you're leading with more than 30% cost and revenue savings for Fusion apps. This is an excellent question.
So in terms of basically there is going to be productivity gain, means like, and this is hypothetical number which I measured based on the workbench rollout going to be made available to the operations people and product stakeholders. Like right now, like all the tools which are there, they are segregated. I mean, they are independent tools. People go for one app, like for the continuous integration, they go to one place. For the Agile software planning and release, they go to one place. And for deployment into the cloud, they go to different place and different pushes and all that. Similarly for the integration test. So there is no end-to-end integrated platform. So, and if we provide this kind of a platform, definitely there is going to be saving in terms of the time people take for those operations in the value chain, and it will certainly save about 30% for sure, when that's my hypothetical number.
So, Sanjay, one thing you want to do for this is have a backup slide where you show a model where you calculate the 30% cost and revenue savings. This, you know, if you look at the some of the templates in the curriculum, there are templates for ROI. In the pricing module in particular, there is a template for ROI and so forth. Use all that background material, all the methodology material, but you do need, if you're going to make a stake like this so early in the presentation that you're going to deliver 30% cost savings, it's not cost and revenue savings, right? But you're talking about cost and revenue savings doesn't make sense. That expression doesn't make any sense. What you're saying is 30% in savings is basically you're saying in the development of Fusion apps, you're saving 30% in cost. You need to have a backup slide, which if you get this question, which you're most likely going to get this question, you just slap that question on that slide on and run through your model. You can go through that. Once you have that model in place, we can go through it in another session offline, but right now you don't need to go through it, but this is something you need to have.
Yeah, Sanjay, I have a quick question for you, if you don't mind. Could you maybe just clarify for me, who is the primary person who's experiencing the pain?
So there's a slide which I'm going to be talking about next, immediately after this,
okay.
Which talks about the different actors who are going to be using this tool. And
Perfect.
yeah, I mean, like it's coming. Thanks, Allan. Yeah.
Okay.
So like in terms of the value proposition or solution which is offering is the Agile software development, continuous integration and delivery platform for management of any software product evaluation in public and private cloud. So this is the kind of a jargon which compiles everything into a statement which has software product evaluation for continuous delivery platform. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the value proposition is like for the developers, there is development planning, there is a user stories workbench, which is basically taking theme and converting user stories to task into Jira-like tool. And then for integration testing, like there is a DevOps and professional services workbench, those who are going to be integrating the Fusion app, like there is a supply chain management system, human capital management system, ERP system, and there is integration happening across those. And there is data which gets populated or seeded from different places. So there is a requirement for automated integration test, and a cloud service can be provided which can be integrated into the workbench for the DevOps people and professional services people, those who are going to be integrating and implementing Oracle Fusion app at the customer side, or Oracle internal people, those who are going to be implementing Oracle Fusion apps. And then code pushes, like there are different environments, like the environments are development, then you have a QA environment, then you have UAT environment, then finally the production of cloud environment. So the code pushes can also be managed through a approval process, like based on the requirement which I gathered from the teams. The development of QA happen automatically, but when you are pushing into the UAT environment and cloud environment, there is an approval process, so that can also be incorporated in the workbench or workbench kind of a tool where basically approvals are managed and tracked when is code getting pushed and what are the features sold out in that push. Next slide, please. So this is the kind of a dashboard for the stakeholders, where basically they will get visibility into the what happened in my last 3 or 4 sprints and what is planned in the next 3 or 4 sprints, so they can view entirely complete visibility about the the features which are planned and rolled out to the outside people, to the consumers or people who have requested the feature. So kind of a dashboard reporting for product stakeholders. And customers can monitor it, and product stakeholders and DevOps and professional services people also have interest in because they are going to be building those features and functionalities. Next slide, which is the customer segmentation. Is Oracle Application Lab is there, and so like there is a use cases slide probably. I will check that. So like Allan, there are 4 actors in the entire stake, means like one is the product stakeholders, those who are going to be looking into the how these features are being rolled out. Then there is development people, those who are going to be looking into the agile software processes and sprints and dev planning. And then there is another role which will be interested in the operations people. They are going to be interested in the release pushes and all that. And there is going to be another role which is the consumers, the customers. They would be interested in knowing whatever features I have requested, whether what is happening with those features, and which build or release they are going to be available to me. And they can track that, and they can also get visibility into what build or GA version they are running on. So like in terms of the customer segmentations, like we have internal, initially Oracle Application Lab, who is implementing the Oracle, to run Oracle at Oracle on Oracle, they are implementing, and then Fusion Apps development team can use this thing. Fusion Apps product stakeholders and operations.
Sanjay, I'm going to stop you and give you some feedback on how to present this slide. This slide is taking you much too long, and to answer Alan's question, it's taking you much too long, and it shouldn't. You have a very simple, and by the way, whatever I'm going to say next, you need to listen to in the recording and really master how to present this. You have three categories of stakeholders. You have Oracle internal developers, and you have external Oracle customers, where they're developers and system integrators and operations people. And you have partners, people who partner with Oracle and integrate with Oracle, and those are the cloud application partners.
Yeah.
You don't need to have these Oracle Application Lab, Fusion Apps development. I mean, this slide is way too long. You have essentially three categories of customers: internal developers, external developers, and application developers. And whether that's development or integration or operations, it's basically those are the people who are using your technology. End of story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Alan, does that answer your question? I know he's having a little bit of difficulty presenting it, but that's the real answer to your question.
So I agree. I think this slide really can be dramatically simplified, and in many cases, you can actually even ignore anybody except for your primary pain point. So if you really just zero in on this is the primary pain point user and this is their journey, you can get far further than going over all of the different journeys. Because they will be lesser, right? They may be actors that support something, but the primary use case, the person that really feels the pain, really should be dived into.
Yeah.
Okay, Sanjay, this is, we have other things, we have another presentation to deal with as well as some video material. Is there something, we can pick this up at a private roundtable coming up, but is there anything else that between now and next week that you want an urgent answer to? And we'll cover that, and then we'll need to move on.
So basically, I am working on the TAM and business model and this use case model. So those are the numbers I wanted to run it by you.
Go ahead. Let's do a quick review of your TAM model.
So, like based on the last feedback which I got from you, means like there is a enterprise license. I have based on the numbers which I came out for the 10 users, it is 100 per month, 100 users 500 per month, and 1,000 users 3,000. And total available market means like Oracle has total 420,000 customers, but those are not SaaS customers. So for that, the TAM average comes down to 5.3 billion. And if you go to the next slide, which is very specific to this.
Hold on. How did you make these jumps from 420,000 customers? These are not cloud customers. You are only interested in cloud customers, right?
Yeah, but this is available market, and there is a addressable market, which is the SaaS customers. That's the way. Should I remove this piece?
This is not the model is not computing for me. There's, first and foremost, where are these numbers coming from? $100 per month, $500 per month, $3,000 per month. What is the assumption in those numbers?
So assumptions are on the next slide, please.
If I can add a thought or two. So for me, there would be two things that are important. So first of all, is this a big market? And I think you've somewhat proven that it is a big market. And secondly, I think there's huge danger in working the model from the TAM down. I would much prefer to sort of say, some evidence. We have already seen some willingness to pay for this at this price point, and this is how we're going to replicate it. So take a bottom-up type approach on figuring out, how you're going to grow this. Really, so explain that you have a big market, but then, try to take a bottom-up approach as to how you're going to grow it.
So, Allan, the methodology that he is supposed to be working off is a complete bottom-up methodology, which is why I'm asking him the question, so these assumptions, there is a business model, pricing model assumption that is necessary to calculate a bottom-up TAM model. That's why I'm asking him this question, where are these assumptions coming from? This $100 a month, $500 a month, $3,000 a month. So, Sanjay, you don't necessarily need to answer these questions right now, but the slide doesn't work. 420,000 Oracle customers, these are not cloud customers. That means that this number doesn't belong on this slide, because you are going to use the number of Oracle customers that are cloud customers are the ones that are in your target audience, not all Oracle customers. Which ones, how many of these customers are cloud customers of Oracle? That's the number one number that you need. Then within that, you need to split it up into how many of those are going to be these 10-user customers, which is this SME, which ones are going to be the 100-user customers, that's a large mid-size, which ones are going to be the 1,000-user customers, which are the large enterprises. So you need to take the first foremost number of Oracle Cloud customers, then you need to split it up by segment, and then map it to whether it's 10-user licenses, 100-user licenses, 1,000-user licenses, and then calculate the model from there. And I don't see any of that here right now.
In the next slide, Swarna, if you go to the next slide, actually, there are only 15,225 SaaS customers as of last quarter, and bottom for that comes out to be 192 million based on these assumptions which are there. All the customers extending licenses which are acquired, and customers are evenly distributed between small, medium, and large sizes, like 33% is small, 33. That's the assumption I have made, and based on that, I have calculated bottom-up TAM to be 192 on average. So, these are the pricing, and the pricing are basically I have determined based on the competition, and which is there in the next slide. The competition has, and there is a CA is there, and then and the growth projections are like that. Based on the 32% growth, bottom-up TAM is going to be going to 440 million in 2020.
Yeah, but again, what you're presenting in the slides and this average 192 million, I don't understand where that TAM average comes from, because what you're showing here is 548 million TAM in terms of large users. Then where does 192 million come from?
I took the average of 18.3, 92, and 548.
That makes no sense, right?
Okay.
That number is completely a cookie number. That number makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. your number, the TAM average, if this is your TAM calculation, and I need to look at the fine print of this a little bit to study the model, but if your numbers are 18.3 million, 92 million, and 548 million by category based on segmentation within the 15,225, then your TAM, bottom-up TAM, is 548 plus 92 plus 18.3. It is not the average, it is the sum. This number is completely off.
Okay.
So you're looking at, actually, the good news out of this session is that even though your presentation and pitch has a lot of work to do, the TAM is actually a lot larger than you're thinking. Which is great news.
So that is a good thing. That's a great thing.
That's a very good thing. All right, so that's actually a lot of good feedback that you can work off and just take another pass at it, and we'll take a look at it at the next private roundtable, Sanjay, okay? Sanjay, are you there?
Yeah.
So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions on this model?
Not right now. I mean, I will be joining in the next private roundtable, and we can discuss whatever updates which are going to be there.
But you understood the TAM discrepancy that I'm talking about, or not?
TAM, actually, I still have a question. Means like I took is my assumption that small, medium, and large customers are distributed evenly is right? First question.
They're not evenly distributed at all. So that there is a fallacy in your assumption. They're not evenly distributed. There are many more small customers, fewer medium-sized customers, and much, much fewer large customers. So I think these numbers probably are wrong. So why don't we do this in the next private roundtable? Just bring your TAM model and let's look at your TAM model in detail.
Okay.
Okay, so then we can flesh out the TAM model in detail, and then you will have that piece of your equation sorted out.
Sure.
Okay, all right, but good progress regardless. I think you're doing the right things and progressing well. So we're going to go to the next presentation in a moment. Let me sort through there's a lot of questions in the public chat. So let me just work through a bit of the questions, and then we'll come back to Sachin's presentation. Suhash Mehta, I think this question is from Allan, for Allan. For a customer, how do you show the investors that you're going with a well-defined target audience? So essentially, how do you define your target audience, and how do you communicate that to the investors? That's the question you're asking, Suhash, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's a good question because it really comes down to being able to really be laser focused on a persona, and then being able to prove that that persona has the journeys that they're converting, that they are retaining, that they're expanding. We do a lot of work on defining those personas, and really for us there is only one or two key personas that really matter. There's lots of actors, as we saw in the past presentation, but really we try to limit it to only one or two. And then we try to further segment that by saying, well, we are really focused on marketing agencies, for example, or we're only focused on companies that are in Washington, D.C., for example. So really the more narrow you can make it, the more the investor is going to have confidence that you can actually address that. Now, that has nothing to do with your the size of the market, because that may be your first bowling pin. And then once you've nailed that bowling pin, you move on to the next segment and the next segment. So, you know, the investor needs to understand that this is a huge market that you're going after, and you need to as well. But then they need to know how you're going to address that. And the best way to address that is by being very, very specific about the persona, the industry, the type of company, et cetera. And that's how you're going to build up confidence.
So Suhash, there's another piece of that answer. That answer is exactly right. And there is a very well developed positioning module in the curriculum, in the 1M1M curriculum that you would have access to. to study and learn that as part of your, if you are a premium member, you would, or if you're a basic member actually as well, you will have access to that curriculum to study and learn that methodology in more detail. There's another question again, Allan, it's for you. Bobby Hofleish is asking, did you learn grant writing yourself or did you have someone else do it?
Sorry, say that, did I learn what myself?
Grant writing. I think you mentioned somewhere that you got some kind of an SBA grant or something, which he's asking, did you learn to write the application for that yourself?
Oh, no, and you know what? So definitely not. Don't, I mean, I don't know what kind of industry you're in, but don't spend any time learning how to write grants. Focus on making sure you've got product market fit. That's where you want to focus your efforts. So, you know, again, it's difficult, and you have to understand who's got money and who doesn't have money if you're looking for any kind of grants. So there's definitely value in there, but being able to write the grant properly, I think that is less important than really understanding what agencies are out there and what cycle are they in. Again, it's one of those things that if you could, you wouldn't spend time on this at all. There's far more important things to spend time on in your business.
Completely agreed. Suhash Mehta, you're asking, did Sanjay come out of Oracle 1M1M Entrepreneurship Program, or did he do the 1M1M curriculum outside of Oracle's Entrepreneurship Program? Sanjay Patni is a winner of the 1M1M Oracle Scholarship, so he has been part of the Entrepreneurship Program, and he's already about 8 or 9 months into the program. So, so yes, he's following the Oracle Scholarship. Then we have Suhash Mehta is asking, as Romana mentioned in the kickoff session, this is a super intensive program in addition to the regular day job. Sanjay, how many hours average does one need to put through the 3-month curriculum? And I already answered this question in the public chat. It takes 50 hours minimum to go through the curriculum at a reasonable level, and that's total. If you put in 100 hours, you would be substantially further ahead. So we recommend that you definitely study all the core curriculum modules. And then in the electives, you have a module that is particularly intensive on cloud computing, and that's the one that you want to study, and that encompasses IoT, AI, big data, and all of that. So I would say that's, you know, you should budget 100 hours of study time in the first 3 months so that you can really master the curriculum and get a lot out of the program. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out of the program. So you're going to have to budget enough time to put in. Okay, I think we're going to move to Sachin's presentation, and then we'll come back to questions later. Sachin, please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. This is Sachin Kanade, and I'm calling from Trivandrum, India. I have been with Oracle from last 2 years. I am working. Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Be listening.
Hello. Yeah. Yes. I am working as a software leader in project leader in software division. This is my first step in 1Mby1M program. This is just about me. I have one concept that is related to hotels and restaurant management as well as hospitality. Oracle has already one of the product, Micros, which is related to the hospitality. And it is somewhat limited to the Western countries. It is not established in Asia.
Sachin, I need to interrupt you for a moment. What is going on with your audio? Why is there so much noise in the call?
I mean, whatever you are hearing. Is it okay now?
Are you on a speakerphone?
Oh no, it's a headphone.
Headphone. It's just a very, very noisy audio, and it's very difficult to hear. So, and now
it's on headphone, man.
Can you do it on a regular telephone line and just speak into the mouthpiece?
Give me 1 second. Yeah.
So while Sachin is figuring out his environment, I'll answer more questions. Suhash Mehta, you've sent me a private message. Please don't send me private message. Right now we are doing public roundtable. Your question is, I'm finishing up a certification program at Stanford in Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Hopefully there will be a good overlap for me. Should I complete the certification course first before I possibly jump into 1M1M curriculum? Suhash, it's really a matter of time management. If you have a heavy course load and a day job, and you're trying to do another program on top of that, you're probably not going to be able to manage all of it. So it really depends on what kind of workload you are handling.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Now, is it
Yeah,
clear?
that's better. Yes, it's better. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Already Oracle has one of the product which is related to the hospitality and management. That product name is Micro, and Oracle has acquired it in the year 2014. My concept is somewhat just extended feature sets to the existing product. It is more concentrating on food supply management in hotels as well as restaurants. So this is what I know for the time being, but I will obviously work on these concepts and collect more information and present it. So most of the customers.
Let me just ask a couple of things to clarify. Are you are presenting this as a kind of preamble to applying for the Oracle 1M1M scholarship? Is that what this is about?
Yes, correct, ma'am.
And I'm not completely getting what you're trying to do here. Are you trying to, is this a B2B product, like a hotel supplier management system kind of thing?
Yeah, it is B2B products and supply management as well as for food consumers. Those are customers of hotels. For them, I would like to use a digitalization specifically for choosing a menus, and using these digital menus, customers can modify their orders as well as at any moment based on the conditions. They can stop the orders as well as change the flavors of food, like how many percentage of spices they want, they can choose. This is what. So
you want this to be all the way from consumer to supplier, the full cycle kind of system.
Yes, correct.
But the purchaser of your technology is going to be the restaurant.
Yeah, mainly it will be based on restaurants and hotel domain.
Hotels and restaurants.
But definitely along with these hotels and restaurants, there will be extra domains involved, like food supply chains as well as agriculture farmers and advertisements. Mainly advertisements is just for the revenue generation.
Yeah, I don't think you should forget about advertisements. That does not belong in this thing at all. But as long as it's a hotel and restaurant management technology of some sort, that would fit into Oracle's, agenda. Because you remember one thing, and this is for all of you who are trying to apply for this scholarship, these are only going to be available to people who are doing B2B products. If you have any product that is any product idea or a business idea that is a B2C idea, you can do this through 1 million by 1 million, but you cannot do it through Oracle 1 billion by 1 million. So if your interest is a B2C product idea, then you should separately join 1 million by 1 million. You can develop your idea, but to get the Oracle scholarship, you need to be committed to doing something in B2B. And that's just the reality of how this program is going to be run. So Sachin, keep developing your idea and write a good, solid application. The application actually does not require that you have an idea already fleshed out. You need to show your commitment and your excitement and your enthusiasm about the program and your desire to be an innovator inside of Oracle. But other than that, we don't need to see a fleshed out idea. You can talk about where your idea is and what you're thinking about, and that will be good. But you will have full support in terms of the curriculum as well as the coaching and everything to build this, develop this idea and build this concept fully. So Sachin, the final word on this is that keep developing and write a good application so that you can win a scholarship to get into the program. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, folks, I'm going to spend a few minutes just explaining to you how 1 million by 1 million works for those of you who are considering joining the program. And I've already talked about the Oracle program. So this first segment is not about the people who want to join through the Oracle program. This is the actual 1M1M program and people who want to come in from wherever in the world, from whatever corner. Before I do that, I do want to ask you for one thing that we need referrals. If you like the 1M1M program, please refer other entrepreneurs to the program. And especially, if you are in a community that is, that has a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking for help, this is a perfect place to get help. And there's a lot of help from a content point of view. There's a lot of help from a community point of view. There's a huge network. We have a very deep network that you plug into if you decide to use 1M1M as your accelerator. And literally, you can use it from Timbuktu. Wherever the hell you are, you can use the program at your own time and at your own convenience, which is hugely valuable. You don't have to move to Silicon Valley or some other hub to be able to do your entrepreneurial work. So that's why we need serious entrepreneurs, people who are going to do what Allan has done, is really put in years of work to really get to product market fit and build something consequential or build something interesting and financially rewarding for themselves. At the same time, don't have unrealistic expectations that out of the gate somebody is going to shower you with funding and then you're going to just magically turn that into millions of dollars of personal wealth. That is not entrepreneurship. We don't believe that is entrepreneurship. You should not believe that is entrepreneurship. And those kinds of entrepreneurs, we don't want them in our program. So in terms of resources, everything is at 1Mby1M.com. You can study the blog. It's free and it's chock full of really interesting and educational material, inspiring, informational, educational. The blog is free. You can learn a lot from it. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series is a very, very cost-effective entry point. There are 12 volumes of Entrepreneur Journeys. You can learn positioning, you can learn bootstrapping, you can learn bootstrapping with a paycheck. There's all kinds of things that you can learn through this book series, all available on Amazon. These free roundtables happen every week. We're approaching our 350th session. So please use these roundtables, use the recordings of these roundtables. They're all available on the YouTube channel, and you can learn a lot through these as well. The full acceleration program is 1M1M Premium. We offer you extensive methodology guidance, a full curriculum, lots of business development support, strategy consulting, sessions like this, private sessions like this. We help you with financing and media relations. In terms of financing, as we said earlier, not all businesses are fundable. So we will help you diagnose whether you're fundable or not, whether you can be fundable. If you're not fundable, or if you cannot be fundable, you're going to need to bootstrap. We'll advise you how to bootstrap your business and build something robust and profitable. If you are not fundable yet, but can be fundable at a later date, we will shepherd you through the process of how to become fundable and then introduce you to investors. So there are different tracks for people at different stages and different stages of evolution. So we understand this game, this entrepreneurship game really well. And we also understand how to navigate these chicken and egg problems that every early stage entrepreneurs have to deal with. There is absolutely no choice. You have to deal with it. So we'll try to help you accelerate that journey as much as possible. We recommend that you do the 1M1M self-assessment. It's a free questionnaire on the website. You can go there and review those questions and try to answer them. These questions are the questions that investors will ask you. Now, you will need to answer these questions, but don't wait for investors to ask you these questions. Ask these questions of yourselves. You are the most important investor in your venture, and you need to be thorough about your strategy. Now, one thing we learned from the community is that people who are doing the self-assessment and are running into methodology roadblocks, they don't know how to answer a certain question because they don't know how to calculate bottom-up TAM, for instance, as an example, or don't know how to do positioning. You can do 1M1M Basic. That's a $99 a month. Curriculum-only access. You can go into Basic and just do methodology training and try to answer these questions on your own. That's also a very effective way to get into the program. A lot of people are doing that as well. So that's it. Go dig in the website and figure out whether this program is for you. It is for self-learners. We need to see that you are a self-learner, because there is a lot of work that you're going to have to do on your own. So, our assumption is entrepreneurs who are not self-motivated and are not self-learners typically do not succeed. So the only kinds of entrepreneurs we are interested in working with are the ones who are self-learners and who are self-motivated and who are willing to do the program in the mode that we have structured it in. So, but if you feel like this is too much self-learning and you need more hand-holding, then this program is not for you. There is a lot of FAQs and video FAQs and so forth. So you can just go into the website and see if this works for you. And then if it does, please join the program. We'll be delighted to work with you. It is a case study-based program. You today had a chance to talk with Allan, ask him questions, listen to his story. There are 750 plus entrepreneurs who have participated in this program, shared their case studies, their entrepreneur journeys. Some of them, hundreds of them have come to the roundtables also to coach you and to share their stories on camera, etc. So there's a tremendous ability that we have created for you to stand on the shoulders of people who have done it before you, and that is immensely valuable. Our methodology is lean, capital efficient, bootstrap startups. You have to bootstrap first, even if you want to raise money, because that is how the industry works. As I said, VCs want to come to the rescue of victory. So you have to, create a certain level of small victory before VCs are going to be interested in you. That's pretty much it. We have a lot of clout in the media. So if you are looking to get the word out there about what you do, your product, your service, your value proposition, we can get you a tremendous amount of that. We have a very large footprint in social media as well as in media in general, and a lot of credibility. So we can definitely get the word out about your offering. Next roundtables, all through April, we have Thursday morning roundtables. Please register to pitch if you'd like a slot. And then, you know, at this point, we are ready for more Q&A, although the time is kind of up. I'm going to just look through the public chat and see if I can answer whatever, or we can answer whatever last few questions, but we are at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, which is generally our end time. Shift Stage Mahaling is asking, question is actually very basic. What would you be doing if you find yourself in the vicinity of idea, it is having potential monopoly in that sector, at the same time the idea is beginning to need the kind of research support, technological research. How do you manage that? Or what would be the step which we can iterate concerning the idea, theoretical or practically, till we reach to a firm decision in order to move ahead with the idea? Shift Stage, I don't like to answer questions like this in vacuum, because every situation, every idea has its own, you know, specific characteristics. So my recommendation is go register for a slot to pitch. So come and pitch your idea, and let's discuss specifics of your idea in the next session.
Samana, maybe I can add one thought to that, though. I mean, the advice I might have is go talk to as many people as possible. So if there's something there, even if there's a monopoly, talk to as many potential customers as possible before you even develop anything, and see if there's anything that resonates.
Yes, absolutely. So in general, the philosophy of our methodology is customer immersion. So whatever is the idea that you're working with needs to be applicable. If you want to build a business out of it, it needs to be applicable to some customer situation, and it needs to be solving some customer's problem. So, you know, every time somebody tells me that it's a potential monopoly, I take it with a pound of salt, not a grain of salt, not a little rock of salt, a pound of salt, because most often they're wrong, which is why I told you what I told you. If you come and actually pitch your idea, we will be able to give you very specific guidance on that idea, and we'll be delighted to do that next time. So we look forward to listening to your idea as well as brainstorming about it. Folks, very quickly, if you have questions about the 1M1M program, you want to talk to someone, your contact person is Irina Patterson, irina@1M1M.com. She will be delighted to answer any questions that you want. So we are 3 minutes over time. Allan, thank you very much for participating in the coaching of the entrepreneurs as well. Folks, any last questions?
Always my pleasure, Ramana. I mean, all the messages that you're saying are absolutely correct. So I'm happy to add my voice to it. Very good. Folks, any last question before we adjourn? We are kind of ready to wrap up today's session. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It was a great session, highly engaged. We love sessions like this when you are participating aggressively, and we may have missed a bit of, you know, the dialogue in the public chat, but I'm sure you are, you know, in terms of reading it out, but I'm sure you're also engaging in public chat and getting something out of that conversation. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We will see you back here next week, and meanwhile, whatever it is that you're pursuing, make lots of progress. We will be back with this working session next Thursday morning. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.